You might think you've graduated from the beginner stage. Maybe you've racked up a few thousand miles, upgraded your gear, and even stopped stalling at every red light. But here's the truth. A lot of riders carry subtle habits that quietly give them away. From how you grip the bars, to the way you take corners, or even how you react when traffic gets sketchy. Those tiny details scream, "Rookie," louder than you think. This isn't about shaming anyone. Every rider, even the seasoned ones, slips back into beginner behavior now and then. The difference between a good rider and a great one isn't experience alone, it's awareness. Today, we're breaking down 12 signs that show you might still be riding like a beginner, and how to fix them before those habits come back to bite. And hey, if you've already mentally argued with me twice during this intro, congratulations, you're definitely gonna need this list. Hit that subscribe button. It's cheaper than replacing a fairing. Sign number 1. You skip or half-do your safety gear. You've probably heard this one before, and maybe even rolled your eyes. But if your idea of gearing up is throwing on a helmet, a hoodie, and your favorite sneakers, congratulations, you're still riding like a rookie. Look, it doesn't matter if you're just going around the block or grabbing coffee down the street. Asphalt doesn't care how short your ride is. One wrong move, a distracted driver, or a patch of gravel, and suddenly, you're sliding across the road wishing you'd worn more than optimism. The pros suit up every time. DOT-approved helmet, armored jacket, gloves, pants, and boots. It's not about looking cool. It's about keeping your skin where it belongs. Think of it this way. Road rash heals slower than your ego. And if you're thinking, "Yeah, but I'm careful," remember, every rider who crashed thought that too. So before your next ride, make it a ritual. Full gear, no exceptions. Even short rides count. The smartest riders know that comfort fades, but scars last. So gear up, because the only thing worse than showing up underdressed is showing up at the ER explaining why. Sign number 2. Your arms and shoulders are way too tense. If your upper body feels like you just bench pressed your motorcycle after every ride, we need to talk. One of the biggest giveaways of a beginner is that death grip on the handlebars. White knuckles, locked elbows, and shoulders tight enough to crack walnuts. It feels like control, right? In reality, it's the exact opposite. When your arms are stiff, your steering becomes jerky, your reactions slow, and your bike starts to fight you. Motorcycles are built to stay balanced. All you have to do is stop wrestling with them. Here's the secret the pros swear by. Loose on top, tight on bottom. Grip the tank with your knees, push your heels into the pegs, and let your arms relax. Think of your hands as guides, not anchors. The bike wants to move. Let it dance a little. Try the wiggle test. While cruising on a calm stretch, wiggle your elbows. If you can't, you're too stiff. Breathe, loosen up, and you'll instantly feel smoother control. Once you relax, turns feel easier, bumps feel smaller, and you stop fighting physics. Riding becomes less of a workout and more of a rhythm. So next time you notice your shoulders trying to audition for a bodybuilding contest, ease up. Your motorcycle isn't trying to escape. It's just waiting for you to chill out and ride it like you actually trust it. Sign number 3. You don't look far enough ahead. This one separates riders who survive from riders who thrive. Beginners tend to stare at what they fear. The pothole, the bumper in front of them, the patch of gravel that looks suspiciously evil. And guess what? Wherever your eyes go, your bike follows. That's why so many new riders end up steering straight into the very thing they were trying to avoid. Experienced riders do something different. They constantly scan ahead, not just a few feet, but seconds ahead. They're already watching the next corner, the next car, the next exit. They look through the turn, not at the turn. There's a saying every good instructor repeats: look where you want to go. It sounds too simple, but it's pure gold. The farther ahead you look, the smoother you ride. Your steering, braking, and balance all line up naturally. Try this next ride. Pick your head up and shift your gaze to the horizon. Notice how your bike suddenly feels more stable, like it's reading your mind. Because it kind of is, through your vision. So stop staring at that one scary object like it owes you money. Your motorcycle doesn't need a micromanager. It needs a leader. Look far ahead, trust the bike to follow, and you'll instantly ride like someone who actually knows what they're doing. Sign number 4, you ride too close behind cars. If your front tire could read the license plate bolts of the car ahead, congratulations, you're tailgating. It might feel like you're just keeping pace, but in reality, you're turning every driver's sneeze into your emergency situation. Beginner riders often underestimate how fast things go wrong. A car ahead taps the brakes, a dog runs out, or someone merges without looking, and suddenly, you've got about half a second to react. Spoiler alert, that's not enough. The rule of thumb is at least a 2-second gap in good conditions. Count 1001, 1002 after the car passes a sign or a shadow. If you reach it before you finish counting, you're too close. Add more space for higher speeds or bad weather. 3 or 4 seconds isn't overkill. It's smart. Keeping your distance gives you time. Time to brake, swerve, or simply breathe. It also gives other drivers room to see you instead of losing you in their blind spots. Remember, motorcycles don't have crumple zones or airbags. Your safety net is the space you create. So, if you're used to following cars close enough to smell their exhaust, back off. No one's giving out trophies for most aggressively glued to traffic. The best riders know that space equals survival. Give yourself the cushion you deserve. And maybe your front tire won't end up making awkward eye contact with someone's bumper. Sign number 5. You only use one brake. If your idea of braking is to stomp on the rear pedal and hope for the best, well, you're not alone. Plenty of riders fall into the rear brake comfort zone. It feels safe, controlled, predictable, right up until you actually need to stop fast. Here's the problem. Your front brake does around 70% of the work when stopping. That's physics. As you slow down, weight transfers forward, giving your front tire more grip. Ignore that, and you're relying on the weaker half of your braking system. It's like running a marathon with one leg tied up. The trick isn't to grab the front brake like it owes you money, though. It's about smooth, even pressure. Roll off the throttle, squeeze the front brake gently, then add some rear brake. Let the bike settle into the stop, rather than nose-diving. Want to get better? Head to an empty parking lot and practice. Try progressive stops, light, medium, hard, using both brakes together. You'll feel how much shorter and smoother your stopping distance becomes. And yes, your first few tries might look like a clumsy seesaw act. That's fine. Every pro started there. The goal isn't perfection, it's control. So, if you've been ignoring your front brake like an awkward ex, it's time to reconcile. Your bike will thank you, and your future self will too when someone slams on the brakes ahead. Sign number 6. You've never practiced an emergency stop. Let's be honest, most riders say they'd know what to do in a panic stop. But saying it and doing it are two very different things. If your idea of emergency braking practice is just hoping it never happens, that's a clear beginner move. When things go wrong, a car cuts you off, a kid runs into the street, or traffic suddenly slams to a halt, your brain doesn't have time to think. It falls back on muscle memory. And if you've never built that memory, your body's going to freeze or grab the brakes like it's pulling a fire alarm. Either one ends badly. That's why every experienced rider practices emergency stops regularly. Find a quiet parking lot, get up to about 20 to 30 miles per hour, and brake as hard as you safely can, using both brakes together. Feel the front end dive? Good. That's traction doing its job. If the rear starts to skid, release a little pressure, Repeat until it feels natural, not terrifying. The goal is to train your reflexes so they act before panic does. When you truly know how your bike reacts under pressure, your confidence skyrockets. So if you've never tested your brakes outside of a normal commute, it's time to change that. Don't wait until you're in traffic to find out what your stopping power actually feels like. Practice until your hands know what to do, before your brain even has to ask. Sign number 7. You rush into corners instead of setting up properly. Every rider loves a good corner. It's where the fun lives. But if you're flying into turns like you're chasing a MotoGP trophy, odds are you're still thinking like a beginner. Rushing corners is one of the most common and dangerous habits new riders carry, long after they stop calling themselves new. The secret to smooth, confident cornering isn't speed, it's rhythm. There's a simple rule every experienced rider knows: slow, look, lean, roll. Slow before the turn, look through the turn, lean the bike, then gently roll on the throttle to exit. Beginners often skip the first 2 steps. They go in hot, panic mid-turn, and end up wide or stiff as a board. That's not bravery, that's poor preparation. Next time you ride, focus on entry speed. Brake earlier than you think you need to, then look as far through the corner as possible. You'll notice the bike naturally follows your eyes and holds a clean, steady line. And remember, throttle control is your best friend here. Rolling on smoothly stabilizes the bike. Chopping the throttle mid-turn does the opposite. If you catch yourself charging into corners, slow it down. The pros aren't faster because they go in harder. They're faster because they go in smarter. Master the setup, and every corner starts feeling like poetry instead of panic. Sign number 8. You underestimate everyday traffic hazards. Here's the sneaky thing about riding. The moment you start feeling comfortable is often when you're most at risk. Many riders don't get hurt on highways or mountain roads. They get hurt 2 blocks from home, doing something they've done 100 times before. Beginners, and even overconfident veterans, often let their guard down in familiar territory. Maybe you blast through a green light without checking cross traffic. Maybe you cruise your neighborhood assuming no one will pull out of a driveway. Or maybe you treat stop signs as gentle suggestions. Sound familiar? That's how crashes happen. Complacency is the real danger. You can't predict what drivers will do, especially the ones texting, eating, or updating their playlists instead of driving. A green light isn't a shield, and a quiet street isn't a guarantee. The best riders treat every ride like the road's out to test them. They scan constantly. Mirrors, intersections, parked cars, always expecting the unexpected. Before every turn, slow down just enough to look both ways. Before passing, double-check the shoulder. It sounds paranoid, but it's really just smart riding. Vigilance isn't fear, it's awareness. The moment you think, it's fine, nothing happens here, is the moment something will. So ride like every driver's a little distracted, because statistically, they are. Stay alert, stay humble, and remember, the safest riders are the ones who never assume the road is safe. Sign number 9. You're complacent about improvement. You've passed the safety course, logged a few thousand miles, maybe even upgraded your bike, and now you think, I've got this. That's the moment it happens. Not the crash, the plateau, the slow, quiet slide from learning to coasting. Every rider hits this point. You feel comfortable enough that the basics fade into background noise. No more practice drills, no parking lot sessions, no refresher courses, just riding on autopilot. But here's the truth. Confidence without practice doesn't make you advanced. It just makes you unprepared. Even seasoned riders revisit fundamentals. They relearn braking, cornering, clutch control, the boring stuff, because that's where real skill hides. The difference between a good rider and a great one isn't talent. It's consistency. If you haven't taken an advanced class, gone to a track day, or even watched a pro riding tutorial in the past year, that's a sign you've stopped improving, and the road doesn't wait for you to catch up. Here's your fix. Adopt a learner's mindset. Pick one weak spot, maybe slow speed balance or smooth braking, and drill it. You'll be amazed how much sharper your instincts feel after just a few sessions. Motorcycling isn't something you master. It's something you maintain. The moment you think you're done learning, the road will remind you otherwise. So, stay curious, stay humble, and keep chasing better. That's how real riders grow. Sign number 10. You have poor clutch or slow speed control. If parking lots make you sweat more than highways, you're not alone. Slow speed control is where many riders, even experienced ones, reveal their beginner roots. You can handle 70 miles an hour just fine, but ask you to do a U-turn in a narrow street, and suddenly it's a full-body panic workout. Good clutch control is what separates smooth riders from wobbly ones. The friction zone, that sweet spot between fully engaged and fully released, is your best friend. Beginners either dump the clutch like they're launching a rocket, or baby it so much the bike stalls mid-turn. Both are bad looks. Here's the trick. Keep steady throttle and control speed with the clutch. Use a little rear brake to stabilize the bike. It keeps things balanced and smooth. Find an empty parking lot and practice figure eights, U-turns, and slow rolls until it feels natural. Watch experienced riders in tight spaces. They glide through like they're moving in slow motion. That's clutch finesse, not luck. They've drilled it until their hand knows exactly where that friction point lives. If you can master low-speed balance, every other part of riding gets easier. Corners, traffic, hill starts, all of it. So, if you're still jerky at walking speed or stalling like it's your first day, it's time for a clutch boot camp. Remember, confidence doesn't come from speed, it comes from control. Slow is smooth, and smooth is fast. Sign number 11. You forget or misuse your signals. Ah yes, the classic eternal blinker. You've probably seen that rider cruising down the highway with their turn signal flashing proudly for 5 straight miles, announcing a turn that never comes. If that's ever been you, welcome to the beginner club. It's a small mistake, but it's one that screams inexperience. Forgetting to cancel your blinker or worse, signaling the wrong way, confuses drivers and makes you unpredictable, which is the last thing you want to be on 2 wheels. Cars are already bad at noticing motorcycles. You don't need to add mixed messages to the equation. New riders often get so focused on staying upright and managing traffic that small habits like proper signaling fall through the cracks. But signaling isn't optional. It's communication. It's your only way to tell the 2-ton machines around you what you're about to do. Here's a quick fix. Make signaling a ritual. Always check your dash after a turn, or tap your blinker switch twice after every maneuver. Eventually, it becomes automatic. Some riders even use a mental checklist. Signal, shoulder check, execute, cancel. It's simple, but it's life-saving. Forgetting your blinker isn't just a rookie move. It's a trust issue. Good riders earn trust on the road by being clear, predictable, and alert. So before you roast that driver who doesn't see you, make sure your signals aren't still flashing from 2 turns ago. Sign number 12. You neglect basic bike maintenance. Nothing says beginner quite like a bike that sounds like it's begging for retirement. Chain squealing, tires bald, oil that looks more like espresso. If that's your situation, congratulations. You're wrenching your way straight back to rookie status. A lot of riders treat maintenance like an optional hobby. I'll check it later becomes I forgot, which eventually becomes why won't it start? The truth is, your bike tells you everything you need to know. You just have to listen before it starts screaming. Before every ride, do a quick TCLO/CS check. Tires, controls, lights, oil, chassis, and stands. Sounds boring, I know. But catching a loose chain or underinflated tire before it fails is way more exciting than explaining to a tow truck why you're stranded. Tires with uneven wear. Replace them. Chain looks dry? Lube it. Brake fluid? Dark? Time for a flush. These small things don't just keep your bike healthy, they keep you safe. Think of maintenance as respect for the machine that's literally keeping you alive at 60 miles per hour. The better you treat it, the better it'll treat you. So if your bike's been making new noises lately, that's not its personality developing. That's a warning. Show your ride some love. The goal isn't just to ride longer, it's to keep your bike from becoming the next cautionary tale on YouTube. So, how many of those sounded just a little too familiar? Don't worry. Every rider has been there. The truth is, becoming a better motorcyclist isn't about never making mistakes. It's about recognizing them before they catch up to you. If a few of these signs hit home, take it as a win, not an insult. Because awareness is how you level up. Every smooth stop, every better corner, every time you suit up instead of slacking off, that's you evolving from just a rider to a skilled one. Remember, even professionals still practice the basics. They still take courses, still drill emergency stops, still tweak their habits. Mastery on two wheels isn't a destination. It's maintenance. Just like your chain, if you stop taking care of it, it rusts. So next time you ride, think about which habit you'll work on first. Relax the arms, scan further ahead, maybe actually cancel your blinker this time. Start with one and ride smarter, not harder. And hey, if this video saved you from at least one potential embarrassment or hospital visit, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It's free, it helps the channel, and unlike skipping your gear, there's absolutely no downside. Ride safe, stay humble, and remember, the only real beginner is the one who stops trying to improve.